And then as a teacher, you're going to have to be putting out that fire. No, Peter, you shouldn't be cheating. This is what you should be doing. Or Peter, stop cheating. Or Peter, go sit in the corner until you learn how to stop cheating. Yeah. Welcome back to The Angry Teacher. I'm Richard Williams, The Angry Teacher. And today, we're going to be playing games in the classroom. Hang around. We're going to learn today. So, whenever you're going to be playing a game, here are some things that you need to be cognizant of. Now, it has to be, for the most part, you can have some that kind of give you an idea of where the kids are. It's like a pre-knowledge game to kind of test theirs, to assess them, to see where they are. But for the most part, games are should be used, or I use them anyway, as for review purposes, or for you to realize that you needed something different in your lessons, or you needed kids to bond in your classroom. So these are, for the most part, how these things work. So games in the classroom do 4 things that I deem important. And the first is it builds content knowledge, or it goes over, you can reuse it for reviews for tests and exams. So kids kind of get to revisit what they've been taught, whether it be a class ago, or today's class, today's lesson, or months ago. I usually do all my games and all these crazy activities during the 3rd grading period when we're reviewing for the AP exam, or we're kind of, it's after Christmas, we're all slowly working our way back into normalcy at school, or after spring break when we're working our way, and we've lost a whole week of instruction and discipline. So now we're kind of working our way back. We've taught, we've learned, and now we're just getting over that hump to go to graduation. With that said, here's a tip. Use classic games and revamp them for your class's purposes. Don't just give them, especially if you have picky, micromanaging administrators, don't just give kids games to play. Even though there's a purpose for it, your administrators want something academically attached to it. So the purpose of the regular just playing a game, plus they're learning as well. So here's what I do as one of my tips. Nope, I'm gonna save that for later. All right, build culture. This allows kids to work with each other, to see that every kid is not like you, or that one's a cheat in every game, I don't want to play with that one anymore, or I'm a cheat in the game, so now I have to learn how to work with other people and stop cheating all the time. They learn interpersonal skills. They learn that, wait a minute, that guy in the back who seemingly hates everybody, he doesn't, he's a cool dude. So they're as they're learning their academics in your class, or whatever the content is, they're also learning to read people. They're learning how people function, how groups function. So when they get out into the real world, the real communities, they'll understand that this is how you treat people. This is how you respond to certain situations. All right. So number 3, games identifies different personality types. Now the kids will realize that while I'm playing this, Susie is always telling us what to do. You're identifying Susie as a leader, or a bully, whichever works, but you're monitoring who these personalities are. Tommy, who's usually in the back, slumped over, kind of just laid back, not even caring if the school is on fire or if the school is not on fire. He's just one personality, one tone, one whatever. When you play a game, he perks up. He's building the different things. He's like organized. Okay, you do this, I'll do this. We'll figure this out. He's the thinker. He's creatively putting people together. Now, if he hasn't determined yet, you can be like, you know what, Tommy, you look like an engineer, buddy. The way you've been orchestrating how people manage this game, this play. They're doing all this stuff because of your ideas. You constructed this thing for this game. You are the man. You are now on my radar, because now you said you didn't know where you were going to school, if you were going to school, what you wanted to do. Now I know that you need to be working with your hands, you need to be working with a group of people. So whatever you determined to do with your life, this is something that you can look into. All right. So games kind of have you identify the different personalities, the different positions people will have or could have later in their lives. It gives you an idea of how to direct them. All right. By all means, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring the notification bell for the next Angry Teacher Dope video, because you learn something and you know it'll be dope, man. You see this troublemaker? Now she's opened the door like 4 times. She's learned that's her new thing. She's opening doors and getting on my nerves. I can't make a 2-minute video without her interrupting all the time. Right, Rox? Say hi to the people, girl. All right, go find something to do. Oh. Whew. All right, so that's done. She's going back to the door. What the heck is at the door? Anyway. All right, moving on. All right, so when you're institute, you're going to have a game, and especially if it's a regular and ongoing thing, the kids need to have a clear direction of what is expected. What do we get at the end of this? Is it just to have fun, or is it for a grade, or is it for a learning outcome? Do you want us to understand something you've covered in government or something you've covered in biology at the end of the game? So clear rules need to be established. Who's going to be the one clicking in? Who's the if there's a group in front of you? Voice. How high can we get? How hype can we get? Should we be taking notes? Should we be listening to each other? All these things you need to see ahead and kind of put that out as this is the disclaimer for us to enjoy and to continue to enjoy this game or this session or section of the class where we have games. This is what we're gonna have to do. You guys all have to abide by our gaming community, okay? Critical thinking skills. For number 4, you can have kids. You're gonna see kids have developed means of winning. Now, some people may cheat. That's not necessarily fine, but as the person playing against that cheater, it's a horrible thing. And then as a teacher, you're gonna have to be putting out that fire. No, Peter, you shouldn't be cheating. This is what you should be doing. Or Peter, stop cheating. Or Peter, go sit in the corner until you learn how to stop cheating. But with all that said, you're viewing all these things going on. You're viewing how they're thinking, their means of winning. If somebody realizes that, wait a minute, I have to get to the top, and I'm rolling the dice, and I'm getting to a point where I just can't get over that hump. You're watching them figure out how to do this, how to play a game that they've never played before, or you're figuring out when you're playing Kahoot, they're realizing that I don't know anything. Every time we play this game, I keep losing, so I'm gonna have to study. He's giving us a grade just for playing the game, then you know what? I'm going to play the crap out of this game because I need that grade. There are things that happen when you play games in the classroom. You kind of revisit. You don't have to do the regular, let's go over these questions to review. You can throw a game in there and it perks up those who never normally are perky, or it has people working together who always like to work by themselves. I don't know if you guys have that, but I have a lot of kids, like especially last year, they never want to work with anybody else. They'd rather work independently. I've never seen that. It blew my mind last year, and it's been trickling in this year. But no, guys, y'all gotta work together. That's how the world works. At some point, you will have a group of somebody you're gonna be working with. All right. So in any case, that was just a side note. It just blew my mind. There are going to be times where the person who loses a lot, when you play a different game, they start winning. So now they're thinking, their thought processes are getting a little bit deeper, and I would recommend using those old school board games. Clue, Monopoly. These are strategy games that they might take a while, especially if you have like a 50-minute class or less, or if you have a 90-minute class, you might, after you've given instruction and all this stuff, you might have to take it over into the next period, and the next day, 2 days from now, or whatever. But once they start getting in the habit and they're setting up faster and they're doing all this stuff quicker, you'll be able to play games that make sense in the critical thinking of your students. All right, those are my 4 tips for infusing games in the classroom because they're important. Hang around for tips. They're coming up right now in the Teacher's Lounge. tips that you can use for infusing games in the classroom. Tip 1, create standard or content-based games. You can have them create it. I use science boards and science presentation boards, have these kids create the games, or sometimes during the summers I would create the game that I want. I create the little cards, you type them up, you print them up, cut them up, and they have their little cards that they can play the games. You go to the dollar store and buy some little figures and some dice and have them come, and they're playing the games based on your content, based on the standards. So even when administrators walk in, they'll see that, okay, this is content based. I have AP games all over the place. Watch for some of the boys though. Some of the guys will be trying to steal your dice to try to go play something, or you know, on the corner or whatever, or they might try to start doing that in the class. So that's why, you know, you're monitoring, you're walking around, you're making sure that these kids are actually doing academic stuff with these games. So create the games based on the standards, create the games based on your ideas of what you want them to learn. That's why, you know, check out the video that I have about prepping during the summer. All right, so that's one of the things I do. Tip 2, take a walk, a leisurely walk through the toy section of your favorite store. I do Walmart because it's closest to me, but you can do Target, all these other stores, all these hobby stores. Walk through and look at the games. When you have an idea of the games, you can kind of figure out that you can manipulate the game for your class's purposes. I've used plastic bowling pins and whatever. I've written, you know, whenever you hit one of the balls, and we go in the hallway and we play, and other kids are looking at us like, oh my god, I wish I was in that class, or what the heck are they doing in the hallway? So my kids are rolling bowling balls down the hall, and if they hit a pin that has literary devices on it, they have to respond to one of the questions I have about literary devices, or they have to respond if it hits character development. I'll give them a question. In the story of an hour, what was Louise Mallard's favorite thing to do, or why was she worried, or whatever the situation is, they have to respond in the like. There's also one, I'm not sure, what is this game called? I don't remember what the game is called, but they have to throw bolos, and it wraps around a certain level tier of the game, and they have to respond to whatever is on there. It might be stock language or vocabulary, theme, and character or personality traits, or something else. But when you walk through these parts of the store and you see, I have Taboo that we play, we have so many different games. You can manipulate those games to fashion or to match whatever you have planned for your lesson. You can use them for whatever subject area you teach. And kids, don't underestimate the younger kids that we have. Everything is not electronic. Some of them prefer the hands-on because it's a different kind of thinking that comes with that. By the same token, tip 3, don't forget that you can use video games. It might take a lot more convincing the administrators in your building. It might take a lot more hooking up and unplugging and plugging in. And if you only have one way for them to view everything, you have to think about the alternate. If like you have, and for some reason these modern games, you know, the PS this and the Xbox and all this other stuff, it takes like one game and then you have a group of kids just hanging around watching it. So what you could do is have other games, hands-on games in the back or in the other sides of the class, while you have one group focused on one particular game. Now, if they're playing games and they're deciding on which player to use, and I would recommend this part though, this particular electronic game, wait till later in the year, where we're done with all the tests, and now we're just building that community closer. Unless they're educational games for these PS2 and PS3 and PS4, I don't even know what number they're at now, on Xboxes and all this other stuff. If they're doing a regular athletic game, you know, basketball, and they're deciding on who, or football, they're deciding on what team and all this stuff, it's, even though they're bonding, it's having them critically think. and you're going to have people interact with each other, and kids will be like, no, he's a better player because such and whatever, or this team is better. They're critically thinking. They may not know it, but they are. And so the other groups who can't be a part of it, other people, because you know you only have like a couple of players at a time, the other ones can be playing checkers, chess, and you know, I move around with them, especially when I'm doing my Epsilon boys, when we're just hanging out. I'm moving around with them, I'm playing chess with them. They're whooping my behind, but I'm playing chess, I'm playing checkers, I'm playing taboo with them. I'm making sure that we're all learning. Mad Gap, that's the name. So we're doing all this stuff that kids are thinking, their brains are being activated, whether it's content based or not. There's something going on with games in the classroom. Check them out, use them, let me know which ones you use, if you use any. I also use a lot of content based. I make my own games because I don't want an administrator to walk in and say that we're just hanging out and chilling, all right? Which they don't understand that there's a place for that too. In any case, thanks for coming to class today. As usual, I want you to go out there and be great. Hey, let's just go out there and teach.